straight into it. I'd like to apologise to any Hull fans that have clicked on this video. I know this is likely the 50th time you've seen someone predict your club to finish rock bottom. I'm not going to just gloss over you guys though. The fact that Hull are even in the Prem this season is an achievement in itself. Not to patronise, but they massively overachieved last year. Their expected points had them finishing 23rd in the Championship, whereas in reality they finished 6th and won the playoffs. Hull have made 10 signings as of me recording, including Gelhardt and Gunnar Duath. Salakis being their key signing. The keeper has been very good in pre-season and has been a standout for Olympiacos across the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I don't see where the goals come from at this level. McBurney and Gelhardt scored 31 goals in the league between them last year, but based on the fact that they have 15 goals in 99 matches in the top tier, that will not be anywhere near enough to keep Hull afloat. On to another one of the newly promoted teams. Ipswich have spent a decent amount on forward recruitment, bringing in the likes of Emerson and Fatawu, along with Maeda from Celtic. Emerson's stats on paper don't look that impressive, scoring 7 and assisting 3 in 32 appearances for League 1 side Toulouse. But what Ipswich are getting is a hard-working forward that thrives off winning duels, winning over 6 duels per 90 last season. Maeda has 116 goal contributions across his 212 Celtic appearances. Ipswich will be hoping that he can produce even a fraction of that output in their bid to survive. They've also opted for some prime experience with the Lukic and Diop Coups, as well as Florentino, who spent the last season playing at relegated Burnley. On the other hand, their defence is eerily similar to the backline they had in their last Premier League stint, which doesn't bode well as they conceded 2.2 goals per game in the 24-25 season. The only team that were worse defensively was that awful Southampton team that finished on 12 points, one of the teams of all time. Lastly, the change of manager is a huge factor. Kieran McKenna, of course, stepped away from football after getting the club their 3rd promotion in 4 seasons. Gary O'Neill has since been appointed, a manager who averages 1.1 points per game at both Bournemouth and Wolves. If he does the same at Ipswich, then they'll be hitting around the magic 40 points mark. I still expect them to go down, but they could make a fight out of it with the next couple of teams. Before the Markhams crucify me, I don't hate Sunderland. I don't really have any feelings towards them. I'm just basing this prediction on a few things. They've likely heard this to death, but their underlying numbers last year had them towards the bottom of the table, being 17th for goals per 90, only managing to score 1.1 times per game. They also overperformed on XG as a whole. They finished 18th in that metric, but the reality is that they had an amazing year, finishing 7th place, be that with a -6 goal difference. They were also one of the best performing teams defensively, a stark contrast to their attacking stats, as only 3 teams conceded less per 90. They've also managed to keep hold of Granit Xhaka, who is as solid in their midfield as his namesake. His experience will be a crutch yet again that Sunderland continue to rely on. Robin Roofs faced 160 shots in the league last season, saving 108 of those attempts. It's vital that he replicates this form as he is one of their best performers. To date, Sunderland have only made 1 signing this summer, Thomas Munier at right back on a free. This is especially worrying in terms of squad depth, as they will be hoping to compete with the European commitments that they deservedly earned. A right winger is top of the fans' wish list, as Hume has been a makeshift option during pre-season, encouragingly scoring a few goals, but they would hope for a more typical long-term solution to fill in that role. Final point on Sunderland, the most alarming point is the lack of goals. Brobby only scoring 7 goals last year. He will need to be aiming for at least double figures to give Sunderland a fighting chance, in my opinion. I'm going against the grain and backing one of the promoted teams to remain in the league. I've gone with last season's Championship winners. One of the main reasons behind this is that I find their midfield interesting. Matt Grimes has been a very solid Championship midfielder in the past 8 seasons, dictating play for both Coventry and Swansea. I'm curious to see how he fares against better opposition. Onyeka, otherwise known as Frank the Tank, shined in the second half of Coventry's season last year. Now they've made that move permanent, can he keep his form up, or will he revert to being a bit part player like he was during his time at Brentford? Carl Rushworth also joins permanently, signing from Brighton. He made 17 clean sheets in the Championship winning campaign. The final reason as to why I've opted for Coventry to stay up is how clinical they are from set pieces, scoring 29 in the league last season, and the previous prime experience their manager Frank Lampard has, both as a manager and as a legendary player. The year is 2026. Everton fans are still crying out for an actual right back to be signed. David Moyes opts to play one of either Garner or O'Brien there instead. Why does it feel like Everton are in the same 12-month loop year on year? You may query why I have picked them to finish as low as 16th in that case, seeing as they've finished 13th in the last 2 seasons. Well, because if they don't move forward, then they will regress, as the rest of the league is going to leave them behind. I do have some data to back these thoughts up. Everton were 15th in XG conceded last year, 14th in XG, and the only teams that kept the ball less than them were the ones that got relegated. And with Barry and Beto as the striking options for another season, I just don't see them having enough to finish higher. On a positive note, I rate the signing of Hayden Hackney highly. I was surprised the team further up the league didn't go in for him. I'd have taken him at United as a third edition after Santos and Tielemans. They could prove me wrong though. There is a quality in their ranks with the likes of Ndiaye and Dewsbury Hall, and Harrison Armstrong has impressed in pre-season. But then I remember that they've signed Brennan Johnson, so all that optimism goes back out the window. It's been a great summer for Newcastle fans. They've lost Gordon to Barca, Tonali to Spurs, and Guimaraes to Arsenal, as well as their manager walking out on them. All parties being instrumental in their recent success, with qualifying twice for the Champions League and winning the League Cup. And I know we shouldn't take too much note of pre-season results, but they only won one of their 6 preparation games, which isn't really a good sign, is it? But with all of that doom and gloom, I'm surprised to see the opinions of most when it comes to Newcastle this season. I've seen a lot of people place them in the top half. They must be convinced that the 120 mil they spent on Waltemada and Wissa last season is going to come into fruition. I'll give Newcastle credit where it comes to upgrading the goalkeepers though, a position that is needed repair for a while. They bought Hornicek, that is his name apparently, and Jawan for a combined 40 million, a worthwhile investment for one of the most important areas of the squad. It'll also be interesting to see how new winger Torre gets on. He scored 5 and assisted 9 in 2,300 league minutes for Hoffenheim before joining Newcastle in the summer. Before any fans get annoyed with me for this placement, I did struggle with the next 4 teams and swapped and switched them a few times before it got to a point where I just had to make this video and get on with it. They've lost Oliver Glasner to Forest, who was so pivotal in what seems like a golden age for Palace. Mark Gay left for City in January, and it looks very likely that Munoz is out the door next, so I feel like this will be a transition year for the club. If Wharton impresses again this season, I'd expect a bigger team to come in for him. Understandably, Palace have set a high price on Englishman, the transfer fees being astronomical this window. None of Palace's transfer business is exciting me either, especially them being part of the most mid-swap deal of all time, with McNeil coming in and Brennan Johnson going to Everton. It's hard to gauge much else with them right now. Let's see how the new manager gets on. Might surprise us, but I doubt it. Forest up next, the club the former Palace manager now resides at. They've obviously had their best player in Elliot Anderson sold to Man City, but I believe they've recruited well this window. Schlager comes in on a free, who is a bit of a beast when it comes to recovering the ball in midfield. He averaged 6 recoveries per 90 in the Bundesliga for Leipzig last season. Ousmane Diomande also comes in to form part of the back 3 that I expect Glasner will operate with as he did at Palace. £34 million has been spent on a centre half who arrives from Sporting, a defender who was key for the Portuguese side in building up play from the back, especially when it comes to long balls. Igor Jesus has impressed in pre-season. Those who play FBL may fall into a trap of having him in their draft, and then I expect he'll go in blank game week 1. I guess to justify why I've only placed them 13th would be that they need to adjust and adapt to the new manager and his system. And as well as I rate the recruitment, they have lost a player that produced a lot for them last year. I think 13th is a fair assessment. Another team that has recruited well is Leeds. Mahimovic, the Bosnian centre-back who swapped in Serie A for the Premier League, being the most impressive deal. He's even already scored a bicycle kick against Augsburg in their final pre-season game. Joining him is a player who I swear is being money laundered by the 115 club. Regarded as future England #1, James Trafford, who spent his time on the bench at City last year, has now somehow netted them a profit in his sale to Leeds, and a deal that could rise to 45 million. Controversial circumstances aside, a very good keeper that upgrades a position that was in need of strengthening. Harry Wilson also arrives on a free. Season of his life last year, but don't expect anywhere near that output again. Still can't deny it's a good player to bring in. Calvert-Lewin scored an impressive 14 league goals in his debut season for the club. We know from his injury history that he can't be relied upon. I still expect him to have the confidence to hit double digits this year, but wouldn't be surprised if he has his usually streaky form. Honourable mention to Anton Stack, phenomenal midfielder, another one I'd have at United, and it would be funny to repeat history and take another one of their best players. I know, shocking that I've decided to place Fulham ahead of the previous 3 clubs. I am with the majority in thinking that the doormat that is Arbeloa being appointed was underwhelming on first impressions. He made it his mission to be Florentino Perez's little cuck boy at Madrid last season, but his appointment has been fruitful for Fulham in bringing in Real Madrid prospects due to Arbeloa's connections. Both Palacios and more importantly Garcia will be looking to impress after making the move to Craven Cottage, both having experience playing under the new manager. Sander Berge, ever reliable in midfield, is joined by new boy Shea Charles, who signs from Southampton. Very well-rounded midfielder who is bound to get a Prem move this summer. I do think it was time for Fulham and Marco Silva to move on from one another. I can see it benefiting both parties, with Silva now managing Benfica, and Fulham can try and aim for those European places in the next few seasons. But for now, their favourite position, 11th. Keith Andrews and Brentford were tipped by a lot of people to go down in the previous season due to them losing their manager Thomas Frank and star players such as Mbeumo and Wissa. But again, they surprised everyone and narrowly missed out in qualifying for Europe on goal difference. Igor Thiago had his breakout season, scoring 22 league goals apparently, as most of us never saw more than a few as he went missing when Brentford games were televised. I have been told that these goals did indeed happen. I want to shine the spotlight on Mamadou Sangare. The midfielder has been signed from loans after an immense season in Ligue 1. Excited to see what he can do at Brentford. Please don't pick him in FPL though, I want my differential. Overall, Brentford has done an amazing job to solidify themselves as a Premier League regular at this point. This will be their 6th successive season in the top flight, and that deserves a lot of plaudits. Amazing to think that Bournemouth will be playing European football this season. After finishing 6th place, they'll be hearing the iconic Europa League anthem at the Vitality. A man who took them to that feat has sadly gone to Merseyside. What a shame. Marco Rose takes the helm, a manager who's had varying success with the likes of Leipzig, Dortmund and Mönchengladbach in Germany. How will he adapt to a new league? If it's anything close to what Iraola accomplished, then the fans will have another promising manager to continue the rise of the Cherries. Krupi will be a huge miss at the start of the season, with his injury set to keep him out until late October, but I think the squad has more than enough to paper the cracks until that point. It's just seeing that they're also capable of balancing Europe. On reflection, I've probably placed Bournemouth a bit too high, but I've already made the graphic and recorded the voiceover now, so I'll die by the sword. If Chelsea are the best team at selling players, which they somehow are, then Brighton are definitely the best at buying them. Quite convenient that Chelsea then ends up buying from them more than your mother buys the weekly shop from Tesco. In all seriousness, I think Brighton are now what the likes of Everton and Villa used to be in, placing in the top half around the European spots. It doesn't matter how many players get snatched from them, they'll just replace them in a heartbeat. It's commendable. Stats wise, Brighton were the 3rd best defensive team last season. Only Arsenal and Man City conceded less goals per game. They were also 5th in average in possession, as well as having the 4th most touches in the opposition box. Very impressive stats that they continue to sustain year on year. They've lost that guy Welbs, but they'll probably spawn his regen who will end up being even better. The recruitment looks solid yet again. Highly rated Luka Viskovic will get the recognition he deserves this season, I can guarantee it. Maybe the commentators will stop bumming Van de Ven as much then. Ironic that Spurs opted to prioritise other centre-backs instead of the most promising one they had on their books. Johanna is the player to look out for. Not sure how quickly he's going to get first team minutes, but with the injuries Brighton are dealing with, he could be part of the forward line sooner than many would think. I guarantee Chelsea will be bidding 100 mil for him in the next 2 years. Before any Villa fan in my comment section is crying, oh, he's put the Sky 6 in the top 6, even though that never happens. We finished top 6 the last 3 seasons in a row. Yeah, I know, dickheads, get over yourselves. You've also lost Morgan Rogers and Yuri Tielemans, 2 standouts in your squad. Manzambi looks like a great transfer though, and I expect he'll bed into the midfield quite well, as that's Villa's strongest area of the team and has been since Emery took over in my opinion. But you've also signed the shit stain in Garnacho. I don't know why Emery has this I can fix him passion project every season with shit United left wingers. Rashford, Sancho and now Garnacho. Yeah, good luck with that. Let's see if he can beat the 1 Premier League goal he scored for Chelsea last season. João Gomez is solid too, again solidifying the midfield after a few injuries. I would put Villa's midfield in the Champions League spots, but the team as a whole is being predicted 7th. If they finish higher, then people can come back to this video and tell me that in May next year. Fuck De Zerbi. I'll rate you 6 because you've activated your financial takeover. I do hope I'm horribly wrong with this low, and maybe we can finally see these lot get relegated. This window reminds me of the one after they sold Gareth Bale. Be funny if it is as reminiscent, as all I've seen this summer is Spurs fans raving about the players they brought in. A load of mid in my opinion, but they'll probably end up being jammy and finishing just behind the team I put in 5th. Yep, my team. I have put United in 5th because I have a strange feeling that we're not going to make any more significant signings in this transfer window, and only bringing in Andre Santos and Yuri Tielemans as first team players is nowhere near enough to be challenging for anything higher. We're crying out for another central midfielder, a left back, and if we're being honest, a right back upgrade as well as a striker, because having Xerxes as a backup is not the one. I know Mbeumo and Cunha are likely to fill in before he plays, but that's my point. We should have a better alternative to Šeško, especially now seeing as he's injured. I watched Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford line up on United's left side against Milan the other day, and I thought I was back in 2016, but no, we have generally still got these two fuckers somehow getting minutes in the big 2026. I promise you I'm not as pessimistic about United all the time. I'd like to say I'm a realist. I am not as delusional as a lot of our fan base. I don't expect us to convincingly qualify for Champions League, as I can't even remember the last time we were qualifying for it every year. The squad that we have was fortunate to get third last season. We relied a lot on others underperforming, but credit to Carrick for rescuing us from the dross that was Ruben Amorim. I'd like Mbeumo and Cunha to find more consistency this year and get even better. They were decent last season, but I know they can go to another level. Same goes to Šeško when he's back. I like him a lot and really hope he can end our cursed striker spot after years of struggling to have a consistent goal scorer. Bruno is Bruno, the best player in the league last season without doubt. Ama needs to step up this season or he'll have to start looking for a new job. Same goes for a few others, but yeah, I hope I'm wrong and United are a lot better than I expect us to be, but scraping 5th is what I'm predicting at this point. These Scouse bastards. Yeah, I've put them above United and it doesn't feel good, but let's be realistic. The hundreds of millions they spent last season will likely show some of its worth. I expect Isak and Wirtz to start playing well under Iraola. He seemed to get the most out of his forwards at Bournemouth, and there's a lot more talent in the Liverpool squad. Rio Engamoa, alongside new signing Victor Munoz, could also have impressive seasons. If they manage to upgrade Chiesa and Gakpo to Barcola and Mbaye from PSG, I'd even tip them to get 3rd place, but as of right now, that's not the case. Alright, that's enough positivity about that lot. The captain's shit. I guarantee this is Van Dijk's last season at Liverpool. He's reminiscent of QPR Real Ferdinand in recent seasons, but the Scousers will still have you believe he's the best centre-back of all time. Yeah, fuck that noise. Not fit to lace Vida's boots. Let's face it, these cheating bastards are never going to receive the repercussions they deserve. Even if they're found guilty of the charges, they'll likely get a slap on the wrist. Goes to show you may as well cheat, as they've won Premier Leagues, FA Cups, and a Champions League, which has all stemmed from it. Hopefully karma finds them one day and they can return to where they belong. But we're talking about predictions for the upcoming season today, so moving on. Maresca is a bold fraud. Rodri has fucked you off as soon as he could to join Barca, and don't be surprised that Haaland is off soon as well. At least you've still got the bloke who looks like he cuts his hair with a butter knife. And here comes the death threats. Yes, Gunners, fucking stupid nickname by the way. I've predicted you to finish your favourite position once again as the bridesmaids. The current champions will not retain the title in my humble opinion, but I do think they're going to end their suffering in Europe, and I'm unfortunately tipping them to win the Champions League. Few things to go over. The transfer business has been good. They finally upgraded their left wing to Cialis, who looks quality. Getty assisted to in the Community Shield though, as now the casuals on FPL are picking him. Those bastards didn't have a clue and now they're ruining my differential. But yeah, every other prediction you've watched has likely put these to win, which is fair, but I'm doing something different. Why have I put Chelsea as number 1? Xabi Alonso, no European football. João Pedro and Danny fucking Welbeck is why. Yes, they still have a huge squad that features the likes of Nepo Baby Delap, who can I just say may be in the run-in for the worst player to ever play in the Prem. Comment below if you agree. I was also tempted to fuck these off after they announced Jordan Henderson's signing. Also, Esteban, one of my favourite players. Can't wait to see what Alonso gets out of him this year. Thank you for watching my prediction video. If for whatever reason you are still here, I very much appreciate it, as this is likely the 50th predictions video you've watched. Do you have a job? You may have noticed that I tried to give a bit more analysis on the so-called smaller teams, as I feel that's what's always missing in these types of videos on YouTube. A lot of creators will aim focus on the top 6 and some towards the relegation zone, but I love football as a whole. Even the mid-table interests me a lot. Anyway, to finish up, please give this video a like and please subscribe to this channel so I know that the time and effort I'm putting into this passion is worth it. I want people to see my videos and interact with the content I'm producing, but also let me know what you agree and disagree with below. Thank you.